Hi everyone. So please excuse the look, okay? Normally I do get a little bit more glammed up to be on camera, but I am gonna go take a nice long walk after this, and I've been working out and it's hot today. But anyway, I wanted to come on here and talk to people about guilt and shame and humility and humbleness. And a really core value of mine is humility. I like seeing humility in other people. I pray to God to keep me humble. I pray to God to inherit a spirit of meekness. I'm constantly praying to make sure that I am not getting too big for myself. Any blessing that I have, I always say it comes from God. Every good thing in me comes from God. And it doesn't mean that I'm perfect. It does not mean that there are not moments where my ego gets the best of me like everybody else. It does not mean that I don't fall short of the glory of God like everyone else. It just means that I make it intentional to pray and to ask God to keep me humble and to keep me meek. But I was journaling earlier because I've been going through this season where I was emotionally triggered for something recently. And what happens when I get emotionally triggered is all of these feelings of guilt and shame pop up for me. I start replaying all of my life's mistakes or things where I almost made mistakes in my head over and over again on this roller coaster ride in my mind. And then I'm like, God, forgive me. God, forgive me. God, what if there's something wrong with me? God, I know that you said I'm wonderfully and fearfully made, but I want to feel wonderfully and fearfully made. I'm praying to God. I'm pleading to God because I'm feeling this emotional distress. And God started to minister to my spirit as I was being truthful with him. Because I said, you know what, God, I'm not always honest when I journal with you. And I asked God to forgive me for the things that I'm too embarrassed to talk about and too embarrassed to pray about. Because when I do, I get emotionally overwhelmed. God, you know my heart. God, you see me. And as I prayed that prayer, God started to deposit something in my spirit. He said, who is the most meek person in the Bible? And I was like, Jesus. Obviously Jesus. And God told me that just because Jesus was meek and humble and had humility, Jesus never forgot who he was. Not once. Not ever. He knew that he had a purpose and he knew who he was at all times. And sometimes we can forget who God made us. We can forget our purpose because we're too busy beating ourselves up because we're not perfect. We're too busy beating ourselves up because we're not where we want to be. We're too busy beating ourselves up because we're not where we're supposed to be. We think about our mistakes. We think our mistakes represent who we are greater than who God created us to be. And we have this self-righteousness. And God was revealing to me that when we don't accept who God says we are, that is our own self-righteousness. Even when the attitude behind it is, God, I can't be who you said I am because I've made these mistakes. I'm not perfect. When we're doubting God's word, that's our own self-righteousness coming in the way. That's our own shame. That's our own guilt. That's our own pride. So God reminded me in this moment, and I wanted to share that with you, people who may be struggling and you are constantly beating yourself up. You're self-deprecating. You are negative towards yourself. And then you call it humility. You call it keeping yourself humble. You call it being real with yourself. But really, you're just self-critical. You're mean to yourself. You are harsh towards yourself. And you don't allow grace. You don't allow God's grace to wash over you and to give you strength and courage and boldness. That Jesus Christ was the most meek man in the Bible. And Jesus never, ever, ever forgot who he was or why he was created. Think about that. So when you start to look at your life and you think, oh, God, I'm unqualified. God, I should be disqualified. God, I'm not good enough. God, I've made mistakes. God, I wish I could have gone back. God, you saved me, but what if you didn't save me? What would have happened? What would I have done? What mistakes would I have made? When you start to get into those cycles of beating yourself up, when you get into those cycles of I'm not good enough, remember, first of all, you're not qualified because you're good enough. You're qualified because God called you. Remember, two, that Jesus, though he was the most meek man in the Bible, he never ever forgot who he was. And three, refusing to accept God's grace over your life is a form of self-righteousness. You don't get to determine if you are worthy. God does. So thank you so much for listening to this video. I hope you're having a blessed day. Hopefully it's not as hot where you are as it is where I am in Southern California. God bless you, and I look forward to talking to you soon.